Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good
Hi.
evening, everyone.
So people are slowly coming in. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, but if maybe you could drop me a hello in the chat box so I know you can hear me, that would be great. Kelly, awesome. Hello. Hello, Mitzi, Marion, Laura, Nikki, awesome. Hi, everyone. Great. So I am trying to admit everyone. We're going to get started in just a few minutes as people are joining. Hello, Gina, Kim. I can hear you. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome, Allison. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited to be offering this. So glad you guys are here. So it's not quite 7. I'm just going to continue to give people some time to join. So when you do come in, please drop me a hello. Would love to hear from you. Hello, Joe. Awesome.
Hello.
Hi, Deanna. Wow. Hi. Oh, this is great. Awesome. Lots of people joining. Great. Okay. So while I have worked with Zoom, this is the first master class I'm giving. So I am just trying to admit all, and hopefully I don't need to continue to do that and people can just enter instead of wait. Hello, Kim, Dana. Oh man, people that I haven't seen and heard from in a while, but it's really great to have you guys on the call. Jen, Joyce, Darcy, wow, awesome. Lynn, wow, oh my goodness. Everybody is hearing me as they're coming on the call, yes? Thumbs up, thank you, Kelly. Okay. Great, thanks, Kim. Wonderful. Suzette, man, geez. All right, so while people are coming in, Aoife, here we go, letting you in. Okay. So I am going to get started here. Now you guys can leave it's up to you if you want to be on camera or not. Of course, I have to be on camera because you're here tonight, and I'm going to get started. So first of all, I want to say I'm so glad you guys are here, all of you, and I have to also say, wow. Almost 300 of you registered for this, and I'm blown away. Carrie, come on in. I'm blown away. I'm surprised, and yet I'm not surprised. It shows me just how much this information is needed, and this is such a natural phase in a woman's life, and yet most of us have no idea what's happening to our bodies and what we can do about it. So I really wholeheartedly thank you for being here this evening. I'm really excited to share what I'm going to be sharing with you guys all this evening, and hopefully give you some real tools that you can apply, right from tonight, and get you feeling really, really great. So I'm still admitting people. Admit all. Okay. Great. Okay, so let me first introduce myself. I know a lot of you already know me, but some of you don't know me personally. So I'm Andrea Hill. I'm a holistic nutrition educator, and I have been helping people live healthier and eat better for surprisingly over 25 years. But about 10 years ago, I narrowed my focus to something a bit more personal. And that was helping support women navigate perimenopause and menopause with a little bit more grace. It can be a very trialing time for us. Honestly, I feel like the last decade, it's been the most rewarding work I've done, because perimenopause is such a confusing time. It is frustrating at best, and most of us are completely unprepared for it. I was completely unprepared for it. So tonight, I'm going to share with you what I hope somebody had shared with me when I was really struggling through my own perimenopause. And I'm going to be sharing with you what I call the 6 non-negotiables. These are foundational pieces, things that I feel your body needs as you're moving through this transition to actually feel like yourself again and feel like your body is no longer, just kind of running the show. And that's how it can feel for a lot of us. And then we're going to go into, yes, Gina, I will be sharing the recording afterwards. So we are recording now. So if you registered and you're here tonight, if you can't make it live, you will get the recording. I just want to make sure you guys are all seeing me on screen, yeah? Somebody can say a yes or yes.
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
Yep.
awesome. Thanks, Deanna. Okay, wonderful. So I am going to share my screen for a little bit of this. So bear with me a sec. Just got a few slides. So we're moving through this, and can we all see this?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. All righty. So before we get into the teaching, I'm going to share a little bit about me. Not the best picture, but I want you guys to kind of understand how I came into this space a little bit more. And I'm going to take you back all the way to 2005. I'm 39 years old. That's me there. And I'm in Paris for the first time, celebrating my 15th wedding anniversary with my husband. So it was a really exciting time to plan this trip. But my first night, I'm wide awake in the Paris hotel room, trying to ignore this buzzing in my body that hasn't let up since dinner. And it's only getting louder, more intense. And then the heart palpitations have started. And then my heart, I feel it pounding so hard out of my chest that I have to wake my husband up. So this was my first panic attack. And at the moment, I honestly had no idea what it was. I didn't know what was happening. And if any of you on the call have experienced a panic attack, you feel like it's never going to end, right? And that this is the end. So got through the trip. It was an awesome trip. But when I did get back to Cayman, I did what most women would have done. I went to go see my doctor and my gynecologist looking for answers. So my doctor at the time had me Xanax, and which I needed, and there's no shame in that. But I went to see my gynecologist, and my gynecologist tested my hormones. Everything was normal, within range. And then I was essentially told, you're not in menopause, but come back when you are, and then we'll talk HRT. That was it. No word of perimenopause was mentioned. I walked out of that appointment feeling completely ashamed. I felt like I was this psycho girl, just complaining, if you will. And sorry, I'm realizing that people are still waiting and, okay, sorry, meeting all here. So at that time, feeling ashamed and completely clueless, but for me, there was this voice inside me that kept saying, this is hormonal, don't ignore this. So I'm glad I listened. So I kept looking, and eventually I did find a doctor in Canada, a naturopathic doctor, one who specialized in women's health. And I did have to fly overseas to see her, and that decision, it was a difficult one, because obviously having panic attacks and not feeling very safe in my body, it was a pretty difficult decision, but I was at a point where I feel like I really did need some serious support. And that decision to fly overseas was the turning point for me. This doctor, who is still my doctor today, she sat with me, she listened, and she finally explained that progesterone declines in perimenopause, and that is completely normal. And because progesterone is a calming hormone, that when levels start to drop, as they do in perimenopause, it can leave women feeling more anxious and way less resilient to stress. For me, that was a hallelujah moment, because no one had said those words to me before. And that moment of feeling truly seen, that changed everything for me. I realized that I literally did not have to white knuckle my way through this phase, and that there were things that I could actually do before menopause to feel grounded and like myself. So once I started to share my story with other women, my clients, my friends, I saw what happened over and over again. There was this connection with other women when they realized that I get it, because I've lived it, I've been there. So if you're here tonight and you are anxious, you're exhausted, you're feeling like your body is literally doing its own thing despite all the effort that you're putting in, I want you to know that I see you. I'm so glad you're here, and I really would love to help in any way that I can. So let's talk about what's actually happening in perimenopause in your body right now. I'm going to now trying to, let me see. There we go. Whew, getting ahead of myself here. All right. So what's really happening in perimenopause? So what most women don't really realize is that perimenopause isn't just about hormone decline, right? You are experiencing a massive metabolic and hormone shift. So it might feel like your metabolism is broken, but it's not broken, it's just changing, right? Now, what worked for you in your 30s, it doesn't quite land the same way anymore. So the old eat less, exercise more approach can often backfire for many women, right? And this is because when you undereat and overexercise, you can create more thyroid dysfunction, and you can exhaust your adrenals even more. So let me explain a bit what I mean by that. During perimenopause, your ovaries are actually slowing down hormone production. We don't know this part that comes up next, but your adrenal glands, your stress hormone response, this is a system that is starting to take over to become more of your primary hormone producers post-menopause. So if you're hearing this word adrenals and you've heard it before, but you don't quite know what it is, a lot of women don't feel alone. Let me tell you that they are incredibly important in this phase for us and beyond. So your adrenals are two tiny glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and their main job is to help you respond to stress, whether that's emotional stress, a lack of sleep, under eating, over exercising, to name a few. So during perimenopause, as your ovaries are slowing down, like starting to slow down hormones, hormone production, and be less consistent in making hormone, your adrenals are being asked to take on that extra role. But it's while it's still managing how you respond to stress. Now, that is a lot to ask of your adrenal glands during this time. So when we have stress that's high in recovery time, like that downtime, we don't have too much of it, that recovery is low, your adrenals become overworked. This is one of the reasons why women can describe a feeling of being wired but tired, feeling more anxious, or just completely feeling like drained, exhausted. So when women come to see me and they say, Andrea, I feel like I'm doing everything right, like I'm eating right, I'm exercising, why do I still feel like crap? Like, why do I feel worse? The answer is always because your body needs something different now. Okay? There's a lot of shift during this phase. One of these shifts, which is what we generally talk mostly about, is estrogen on the decline. And estrogen, that hormone in and of itself, is anti-inflammatory. Like all our other hormones, they're anabolic, they build us up. When we get that decline happening in perimenopause and then further post-menopause, this is actually increasing inflammation in the body as well as insulin resistance, which I'm going to talk a lot about this evening. But your body is literally trying to recalibrate and maintain its balance as best it can. So this is a big deal. It's a major shift. And while I completely understand that women will naturally default to what worked best for them in the past, and that may have been, calorie restriction or carb restriction, your body is actually needing more support, more steadier fuel, not more punishment. So, what does support your body? What does supporting your body look like in this phase? It looks like the 6 non-negotiables that I'm going to be sharing with you this evening, what I plan to cover. So tonight, I'm going to walk you through. These are like, I feel like they're the foundation. They're the pillars. These are the non-negotiables, what we all need to get greatly in perimenopause when those hormonal shifts are very, very great, but more so even through the rest of our lives post menopause, right? I feel like each of these are incredibly important. I'm going to give you an understanding of the framework of each of these this evening, but then I'm going to do a deep dive into one of them, and that's the blood sugar balance. And if you love what you learned tonight, what I share with you tonight, I'm going to also invite you to go deeper with me in my 8-week group program, where I would be spending a week on each of these 6 non-negotiables so we can master them a little bit more and feel like we're better supported. So let me first introduce them. The first one is protein first, fiber matters, sleep and self-care, and I don't negotiate on this one. Consistency over perfection, balance your blood sugar, and eat the rainbow. So, like I said, each of these are incredibly important. They each build on the other. They are interconnected. And when you apply them all, when they work together, I feel that's truly when the magic happens. So I am just going to, got ahead of myself, I'm just going to do a stop share for a sec. And I'm going to invite you guys, if you want to be on camera, that's great. But if you don't, I totally get that. But I love seeing faces. It helps me feel like I am speaking to people and not just a blank screen. But I'm gonna start us through the first non-negotiable. So non-negotiable protein, the first one is protein first, right? So the thing about protein is that women still are not getting enough. And in perimenopause and in menopause, this becomes a huge problem, right? So during menopause, the transition especially, so in perimenopause, women lose about 10% of their muscle mass. 10%. That's a lot, right? And then if you're postmenopausal, like me, every year after menopause, you're losing 0.6 to 1% of muscle mass each year. Okay, and that's just kind of happening in the background. So muscle isn't just about strength, okay? It is your organ of longevity. It supports so many systems and so many parts of you, your bones, your brain, your heart, your metabolism. It also acts like a sponge for glucose and insulin, right? So the more muscle you have on your body, the better your body is going to be at managing your blood sugar and burning fat, right? Now, without adequate protein, we can't preserve muscle. So we're already losing it in this phase. We want to preserve what we have existing, and we also want to work on building it. But if you're not eating adequate protein, you're not able to build it. Okay. So the other area of protein where I see it affecting people is when they're not eating adequately, you will notice that you struggle more with your cravings. Your sleep might not be as deep. Your mood stability might be a little all over the place. And it would be really, it would be a lot harder for you to manage your metabolism. So we might see an increase in weight a little bit more easily when that protein isn't accounted for. Protein does satiate, it keeps us full longer. And of course, the support on our mood and on our sleep is also a value here. So protein supports the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and melatonin. So there is a direct impact on its effect with our sleep and with our mood. So for me personally, and for all of you, I do want to say that protein is a non-negotiable, right? And in the program, we do go deeper on how much protein you need, how to hit those targets without it being too overwhelming, because it can feel very overwhelming if you're coming from eating not much to suddenly having to hit a protein target that's closer to maybe like 100 grams. I will say there were some pre-submitted questions before the call, and one of which was about protein. I'm going to address that at the end of our class so that we're keeping the questions at the right time. So that's protein. Now, your non-negotiable number 2 is fiber matters. And if there was one nutrient that I would say I would want women in perimenopause and menopause to pay just as much attention to as they do protein, it's fiber, right? The reason why that is because fiber helps you detoxify excess hormones. And in early perimenopause, estrogen is actually fluctuating wildly, sometimes spiking up to 3 times its normal before it crashes. And in those highs, that's where women can really feel a little bit more unstable. But fiber becomes incredibly important because we want to be able to eliminate that extra estrogen that is spiking in that early perimenopause phase. So when your body is done using estrogen, your body needs to break it down and then get rid of it, right? Like eliminate it. Your liver plays a central role to that, but then so do your bowel movements. And if you are not pooping every day, that's a huge problem, right? Because when you're not pooping, that it means that we're not able to eliminate those estrogen metabolites and other hormone metabolites too. Getting enough fiber, not getting enough fiber rather, means that the breakdown products of estrogen, which are the metabolites, these are actually like so much more potent than the original hormone. So when we're not able to eliminate them out of the body through the bowel movements, there is greater potential of recirculation. And that recirculation is what can really manifest in a lot of the PMS worsening symptoms that women can experience in this phase. So you'll feel more bloating, puffiness, breast tenderness, a lot more erratic mood swings. And for some women, again, in that crash after that spike, you'll see hot flashes intensifying as well. So now this actually, like the fiber piece really applies to all women, whether you are in perimenopause, you're postmenopausal, or you're on the oral contraceptive, or you're on any form of HRT. Your body still needs to detoxify excess hormones, and fiber is essential to help you do that. Your gut bacteria also play a huge role in how much estrogen your body is eliminating and how much is recirculating. So when your gut health is healthy, when you have a good, healthy gut microbiome, old estrogen can leave the system quite easily. When the gut bacteria is not so greatly balanced, so when we have a little bit more of an out of balance or dysbiosis, we call this, that's when estrogen can really recirculate and worsen those symptoms. Now, your gut also produces about 90% of your serotonin. Your serotonin is your happy, calm neurotransmitter. So gut health really does also directly affect your mood. So all of these pieces, your gut bacteria, getting in enough fiber, feeding the existing bacteria that resides in the gut, all of this plays a huge role in hormone balance to help control inflammation and influence how your metabolism is functioning, how you're storing fat, how your body is responding to insulin, how efficiently you're burning energy. So when we eat fiber, you're feeding the good bacteria. And this is just supporting everything else downstream, right? That's why fiber matters so much. So many women, sadly, though, are like protein. They're not always meeting their needs for the day. And one of the main reasons of this can be, watching carbs. So going on a low carb diet, especially when you start to feel like your perimenopause changes are resulting in an excess of weight, especially around the midsection. So the first thing that I find, like as women, we default to is we cut out the carbs, right? So we want to be aware of this. Also, people that are eating the same foods like on repeat. So like if you're a creature of habit and it's like broccoli, 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 and we're not eating any other vegetables, right? You're limiting the diversity of nutrients coming in that ultimately end up fueling the gut bacteria. So in the program too, we do talk about exactly how much fiber you need and what foods are highest, which ones kind of really help you meet that target, but how to also gradually increase your fiber, because when you increase it too quickly, you can feel super uncomfortable. Some people complain of bloating and gassiness. So we want to do it gradually and get the body accustomed to it. So like protein, your fiber is not optional. It's definitely a non-negotiable, right? So moving into now non-negotiable number 3, and that is sleep and self-care. And as I said before, I don't negotiate on this one because I find that like sleep and self-care, they're often the first things that women let slide, right? Don't know if any of you can relate to that, but I find that this is often an overlooked piece and it's super underemphasized. And I find that sleep and self-care are almost considered, like we view them as indulgent and as optional, right? And that couldn't be further from the truth. They make such a huge difference And a lot of it has to do with your adrenals again. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper now on the adrenals. Your adrenals have been working for you for decades, right? In your 20s and in your 30s, your adrenals had your back, right? They had your back every time you were super stressed out, every time you pulled an all-nighter because you were either, partying or you were cramming for a test. They were also there for you when you were, doing a killer workout, even though you were absolutely exhausted. And they're also there for you every time your blood sugar crashed because you either didn't eat well or you didn't eat on time, right? So they pumped out cortisol to help you keep going because that is the natural signaling from the brain. We get this perceived stress of what's happening around us, whether that's real or perceived or imagined, and the response is release cortisol. Let's help Deanna, Kelly, run away from this danger, right? So just like anything that gets chronically overused, your adrenals, eventually they lose their strength and their effectiveness, their potency. So now in perimenopause, when your adrenals are supposed to be kicking up the slack, right, and taking on hormone production because of your declining ovaries, that's again a lot of work to ask of them, right? So they're already exhausted. Your adrenals are already super tired because we've been asking them to do this one job of managing your stress all your life. And now on top of that, it's going to do your hormone production as well, right? No wonder you're tired, right? So sleep is another thing. When we look at sleep, this is when your body heals, right? It's when your adrenals restore. It's when your hormones regulate, right? Without adequate sleep, if any of you have experienced even one night of really bad sleep or just no sleep, you show up the next day to your life in a very different way, right? Your mood is different. Your energy is different. Metabolically speaking, you are absolutely super different. There is research that shows that even just one night of crappy sleep raises the hormone ghrelin. I call this your inner gremlin because it makes you hungry, like you just want to devour everything in sight. And it reduces your satiety hormone leptin. And leptin is the hormone that tells your brain, I'm good, I can stop eating now. So there is this misfiring, this missignaling just with one night of really poor sleep. So in the program, we talk about exactly how to optimize sleep, even when your hormones are making it super hard to get a good, adequate sleep. We also talk about supporting your nervous system so that the adrenals are able to kind of move through this phase a little bit more easily. We do this by learning how to set boundaries and learning how to say no. And I know that that can be really super challenging, but I do find that it's so incredibly important and supportive for us. So the bottom line is, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't keep running on fumes. So sleep and your self-care is, again, another non-negotiable. So non-negotiable number 4, and that is consistency over perfection. I often hear people say, Andrea, I know what I should do, but I'm just not doing it, right? Now, the gap between knowing what to do and then actually doing it has nothing to do with willpower or discipline. Okay, so this isn't a discipline problem. This isn't a willpower problem. It's about your why, right? People don't change when they want to change. They change when they are ready to change. And being ready means that you have a real emotionally backed reason for wanting to change. Something that goes well beyond the number on the scale or the size of your jeans, right? So your hormones love routine. The consistency is what helps your brain feel safe, right? And when your brain is feeling safe, your body responds in a beautiful way by just functioning better. So in the program, we get really, really clear about your why, right? We talk about removing those boundaries and we try to build those habits that stick, not because you're forcing yourself to, but because they're actually aligning with what is most important to you. The idea is to really just let go of perfection, right? And once we can do that and just work on the consistency, right? So it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. So just showing up most of the time and actually getting back on track when life gets in the way. And life does get in the way. It's great to see faces. Thanks for turning on your cameras. Okay, great. Awesome. So I'm going to introduce non-negotiable number 5, and that is balancing your blood sugar. I'm going to do a deep dive on this where I will reshare my screen and bring some slides back in, but I'm just going to briefly introduce it for now, okay? So with balancing your blood sugar, if your goal in this phase of life is to lose weight, you need to start by balancing your blood sugar. If you want to manage your mood a little bit more, or your anxiety for that matter, you need to balance your blood sugar. If you want to stop craving something sweet after each meal or after dinner, balance your blood sugar. If you want to sleep more soundly, you see where this is going? You need to balance your blood sugar. Okay? So even for some women, hot flashes can intensify. The frequency and the intensity of hot flashes can intensify when our blood sugar is not stable. So this is huge. It is such a pivotal piece. It's not just about preventing diabetes. I know that when we hear the words, blood and sugar, we automatically think this is all about preventing diabetes. And yes, that's still an important thing. But it's about everything else. When your blood sugar is stable, everything else is a lot more stable. Your mood will be more stable. Those cravings will be a lot more quieter. Your metabolism will be a lot more resilient. And of course, your sleep is better, right? Because that, again, we're controlling blood sugar to prevent crashes and that wake up. Your ability to lose weight becomes a lot easier too when your blood sugar is managed. So we want to be feeling like ourselves and not feeling like we're on this roller coaster that we didn't buy a ticket for, essentially, right? So we're going to do a deep dive into the blood sugar balance piece in just a sec. But again, like the other ones, a super non-negotiable. And now going to the 6th one, number 6 is eat the rainbow. Now, what most women don't really know about perimenopause and menopause, these phases are unique states of inflammation. I had said earlier that, hormones in and of themselves, when they are in that beautiful balance, they are anti-inflammatory, they are anabolic, they build us up, they support our mood, our bones, our metabolism, our heart health, so many parts of us. So when we experience the decline in these hormones, we get more inflammation happening, and that can manifest in a variety of different ways. For some people, it's joint pain. We get achier joints, a little bit more stiffer. For some of us, higher cholesterol, higher blood glucose readings. There's a lot of shit that happens, and this is because estrogen on that decline is what is also raising oxidative stress. And when we have oxidative stress, this basically means that you're producing more free radicals, which essentially are damaging cells. They're aging you faster, and they're increasing your risk of more chronic diseases like heart disease, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, still the number 1 killer for women. So the antidote to this, antioxidants, right? If we are oxidizing if we're breaking down as we're losing hormones, we need to try to counter that oxidation by neutralizing those oxidants. And that is with antioxidants. And the best source of antioxidants, plant foods. Colorful, beautiful, brilliant plant foods. So think red tomatoes, yellow sweet bell peppers, orange sweet potatoes, purple cabbage. You get the picture, right? Green kale. All of these represent different color pigments, phytonutrients that quell inflammation. They support your gut and they protect against chronic disease. So I find one of the biggest challenges here for women is a lot of women are eating foods on repeat. Like it's like the same breakfast smoothie, like the same exact recipe. Like it's always strawberry banana with my protein powder and my flax. The same thing. You don't change the recipe, right? It could also be that you have a salad every lunch and it's the same, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, carrots. It's the same buildup, right? We all do this, right? Because it becomes easier. It's a little less intense to have to think about variety. But I'm going to challenge you here on this. It becomes fun. I like making this fun. It's about trying to get the different colors of the rainbow. Um, when we're eating the same all the time, what you're doing is you're actually limiting nutrients coming in. And that means that your gut bugs are just getting the same bacteria, like it's just getting the same type of nutrient. So it can't thrive, it can't build and flourish anymore. And your gut bacteria, the changes of it, they develop all through your life, but at the age of 40, your gut bacteria plateau. So it's our responsibility from there on in to try to build the rainbow around our protein foods. And in the program, we talk a lot more about that, about plant diversity and aiming for 25 to 30 different plant foods a week. I give you a little fancy trackers so that it becomes a little bit fun. But it's a critical part to supporting the gut microbiome and, of course, your hormone health. So the key takeaway to this non-negotiable is branch out, right? Eat the rainbow, try new things. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen again and bring in, oh my gosh, you're seeing my slides ahead of me. This is not good. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. Got that for a sec. Give me 2 seconds. This is real stuff happening. Okay. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Okay. Let's go here. Okay. Let's do a bit of a deep dive now. How many of you have experienced hangriness? You know that feeling, right? You're hungry and you're angry, right? Hey, love it. Yeah, you can raise your hand, join in. This is great. Awesome. Okay, so hangriness. This is when, 1 minute you're your normal self, and then the next minute your alter ego checks in and you are this snappy, irrational being that is desperate to get your hands on something, some food, right? So hangriness is a blood sugar problem. And what's happening here is when you haven't eaten for a while, maybe your blood sugar is crashing as a result of that, or maybe you ate something that caused your blood sugar to spike and then crash. This results in a blood sugar drop. And when that drop happens, your brain panics. And your brain panics because its preferred source of fuel is glucose, right? So the brain sends an emergency message to the rest of the body, and the message is find food now, right? What do you think you're going to crave when you are hangry? You're not going to be craving a kale salad, let me tell you, right? You're not going to be like wanting any kind of like grilled fish or some steamed vegetables. What do you think you're going to be craving? Anyone want to, like, you can write in the chat box what you think, or you can unmute and just call it out. What do you think you're going to be craving when you're hangry?
Chocolate, sweet.
Absolutely. Chocolate, yeah. Sugar, comfort food, something fast, high carb, absolutely. Spot on. Your brain knows that the quickest way to be relieved, to feel that beautiful dopamine high is to get sugar fast, right? That's the immediate relief. Now, it's a short term fix, and sadly, sugar is just perpetuating this cycle. You know, you spike, you crash, you go back again to more sugar, you're hangry again, right? So, nothing is really stopping this. So, if this is speaking to you, if you have experienced this, or you are experiencing being hangry, you are feeling that, maybe up to this point your solution has always been, well, I just got to eat every 2 hours, or I have to graze all day, just kind of nibble throughout the entire day. Or maybe it is always keeping snacks in a desk drawer so that you have a quick source of something to build your blood sugar up really quickly when it hits. The truth is that snacking is not going to be supporting your metabolic health after 40, especially if what you are continuing to grab is something that is high carb, high sugar, and not balanced adequately with other slower releasing nutrients like proteins, fat, and fiber. So when you eat, um, I'm trying to move my slide and it's not going. Here we go. So when you eat, your blood sugar rises, right? Your pancreas, as a result, gets triggered to release insulin. And insulin's job is to move glucose into the cells, right? And it does this, you can think of insulin like a key, like you're seeing on the screen there. Insulin's like a key, and it's unlocking the cell door to allow glucose to enter. So in a healthy body, insulin is unlocking the cell door, glucose is entering, boom, we're getting energy, everything is beautiful, we feel good, we feel great. But when you're constantly snacking, and that snacking is eating a lot of high carb foods, right? Or maybe you're not balancing adequately with protein, fat, and fiber, your cells will start to ignore that insulin key, right? And when that door doesn't open as easily, your pancreas compensates by thinking, okay, well, maybe we're not banging on the cell door loud enough. I have to release more insulin now. And more insulin gets released so that we can allow glucose to enter. But that again might not still be happening. So what results is chronically high levels of insulin. And this causes some major problems for women in this phase of life, starting with more inflammation. And when you're inflamed, inflammation is beautiful when we're hurt and in that moment, but when it's chronic and it's in the background, it becomes very, very hard for other things that you want your body to work through, like maybe losing a few pounds. It becomes very, very hard for that to happen. You might find that hot flashes become more intense, more frequent with this chronically high insulin. Increased cravings, lower libido, inability to lose weight, especially around the midsection. You may also hear from blood work that you're developing something called a fatty liver when we see elevated liver enzymes. That, in addition to high triglycerides, which is one of your blood fat markers, like one of your cholesterol markers. So eventually, your cells stop responding to insulin. And this is where what we call insulin resistance. And it affects more people than you think. It affects 1 in 2 people over the age of 40, right? So it is also the precursor to type 2 diabetes, and it's a major driver of weight gain and metabolic dysfunction for the woman who's 40 and beyond, right? And here's the real kicker, right? Declining estrogen in perimenopause, this in and of itself makes you more insulin resistant. So we lose that sensitivity to our own insulin just by losing that estrogen. And in menopause, postmenopause, I should say. So women who have completed a full year, 365 days with no bleed, you are postmenopausal for the rest of your life, but you're running on consistently low hormones, low estrogen, even if you're on HRT. So remember, with HRT, we're only getting a microdose of hormones. We're not getting the same amount we had when we were cycling, right? So blood sugar isn't optional. Again, it's foundational, right? So the good news here is I'm going to introduce you to the lovely PFF formula. And what this means is you don't need to think about, cutting carbs out or starting to restrict your calories. It's more about being smart about your carbs and balancing them adequately with protein, fat, and fiber. So that is the PFF formula, that every time you sit down to a meal, you want to be including a source of protein, a source of fat, and a source of fiber every meal. So I'm going to use pasta as an example because I love putting this into, ways that we can understand, right? So we've got pasta here, and pasta, this first bit, if we're just having pasta by itself, this is what I call a naked carb. Your blood sugar is going to spike very, very quickly because there's nothing blunting that glucose release in the bloodstream. You're going to get quick energy from that blood sugar spike, but then you're going to crash and be hungry in about an hour. That is a true hangry cycle right there. Now, if we were to add fat to the pasta, let's say in the form of a pesto sauce, we're going to result there in a slower rise of glucose, longer energy, because again, we're getting a nice gradual release into the bloodstream. We're going to feel a lot more satisfied, better. Now we've got the fat, the carb. I'm going to add protein now. Now, by adding protein, it slows the glucose release even more. We get an even slower, steadier rise. We feel much more satiated, and it absolutely will prevent that crash. Now, if we go full on PFF formula, we've got the fat, we've got the protein, and now I'm going to add fiber in the form of vegetables. So I'm adding some broccoli here. You can add whatever you'd like. And I should say, sorry, with protein, if you're a vegetarian, you're not doing like chicken or fish, maybe you're doing some crumbled tempeh or some edamame or some kind of a protein source for you. But there are still options for all you veggies out there. But if we're doing the perfect PFF formula, this is where blood sugar is the steadiest. It is the most controlled. You will feel completely satisfied here because, again, you get that much gradual release of all of this food coming into you. And in the long run, this is how we prevent insulin resistance, right? So the perfect example here is trying to get that PFF. Now, I don't have many food rules, but one rule I do like to apply is never eat naked carbs. Now, you all saw what a naked carb was, and that was the bowl of pasta with nothing on it, right? What I want you to do is, instead of eating naked carbs, I want you to clothe your carbs, right? You're going to clothe them with protein, fat, and fiber. I want to give you some examples. Berries, cottage cheese, and ground flax. So instead of eating berries by themselves, clothe those berries with some cottage cheese and ground flax so you get that protein, fat, and fiber. If you're doing maybe toast and avocado, okay, well, that's good, but we're missing protein. So could we add some scrambled tofu or some scrambled eggs with that? Then we hit perfect PFF. Similarly, quinoa, broccoli, butter, chicken, or edamame, always getting the protein, fat, and fiber piece. Now, when you start to do this, when you start eating this way, when you're doing the protein, fat, and fiber, you're going to notice a lot of things. But two main things are your cravings are going to decrease, your energy will be more stable, and no more riding the hangry roller coaster. You will also feel, if anxiety has been part of your picture, as it was for me in perimenopause, you'll notice that your energy is a lot more stable. Okay. So the action step for this week, something I really want you guys to try to work on is I want you for the next week to focus on eating only PFF meals, right? So make sure that every meal has protein, fat, and fiber. And then notice how you feel. Again, this is not about willpower. I got to stay away from this. I got to stop craving this. It's about managing your blood sugar. And that's why I chose to hit this one as the bigger deep dive this evening. But you will notice, that hangriness is gone between meals. The cravings have subsided. The energy is a lot more stable. So we hit all of these 6 non-negotiables tonight. We did protein first, fiber matters, sleep and self-care, consistency over perfection, balance your blood sugar, and then eat the rainbow. All of these are important, and we want to layer them all together and not just focus on one. It's about bringing them all together. So if you did want to go, if you did want to kind of focus on one, the blood sugar piece is one of the reasons why I wanted to focus tonight's discussion, because I feel like it's the one that people notice very quickly, the changes and the benefits from it. So if you do want to go a little bit deeper with me on this, I would invite you to go a little deeper on the perimenopause reset. So this is a group program. It's a program that I created personally out of necessity when I was struggling, and it became something that I started to work with clients on last year, and tried it as a pilot with a group last year. They did extremely well, but I felt like offering it through Zoom would be a way to really enable more people to join. So it's an 8-week group program, and we are starting the next round February the 10th. And it is for the lady out there who's just literally, you're just tired of feeling exhausted, frustrated, and like your body is literally just doing its own thing. What this is not about, this is not a restrictive diet, and it's not going to be a quick fix. So if that is what you're hoping for, this is not the program for you, right? But if the rest of this is speaking to you, getting that support, then I would love to invite you to join us. So what is included in the 8 weeks? We've got 8 weekly live Zoom sessions together. And like I said, it starts February the 10th. We're going to do Tuesdays at 7 like we've done tonight. And each week we'll go deep on like one of the non-negotiables so that we're spending a little bit more time. You'll have direct access to me. You can ask questions in real time, and we'll troubleshoot together. You'll also be a part of a private WhatsApp community for daily support, so that you can not only ask questions, but you can share your wins. You can connect with other women and feel like you're not doing this alone, because that's one of the big motivators here is, we can experience that feeling of isolation during this time, and that is not what works. It can feel really daunting. I'll be gifting you a 4-week anti-inflammatory meal plan. And it's a plan that if you'd like, you can use it and you can follow it as it is. There's recipes and a shopping list that comes equipped with it, but it's really not mandatory for you to follow it. It's really just about, like I often hear, oh, Andrea, what do I eat? And you guys know what you should eat. I mean, you guys are all smart ladies on the call. I know a lot of you, and you know what you should be eating. But I get it. A lot of the time we lack that inspiration, and we need a little bit of inspiration. So that's what this is for. There is both a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian meal plan, but all the plans are gluten-free and nutrient dense. You'll also get all the tools and trackers, so your protein charts, your fiber tracker, and your plant diversity tracker. And then, of course, you'll get me. You'll get guidance from me, so I can support you and put my, 25 plus years experience to good use. And of course, I've been through this, so I feel like I could offer a little bit additional support, personal support. So I'm going to tell you some of the program details here. The investment for this is $12.97, but you've shown up this evening. Because of that, I do want to offer an early bird pricing for $9.97. So that's $300 off if you enroll by the end of the month, by the 29th of January. So I do realize that it is an investment, but when you do break it down, it's about $125 per week. And it's for live coaching, community support, your meal plans, and all the tools that you need to follow through. But now, if paying in full doesn't work for you, I do also offer a 3-payment plan, which you can just do 3 payments of $365. The last thing is there are limited spots, right? I'm only accepting 15 women just because I want to keep this small. I want to get to know you. I want to give you real attention. And I want to, I want to know your names. I want to share your struggles, and I want to be there so that it's not feeling overwhelming. So if this is speaking to you, don't wait too long. Once we hit 15, the enrollments will close. So I'm going to unshare for a sec, because what I am going to do right now is I'm going to drop the link to the enrollment form. You'll get this in the replay as well, but I am just going to do this now while I'm on the call with you guys. Let me see. I'm not direct messaging. I want meeting group chat. Here we go. Okay. So that is the doc that you can fill out. And if you do submit that, I will be in touch within 24 hours with some more details. But that is it for our masterclass. What I do want to address now are questions that any of you might have this evening, whether you want to unmute or ask them in the chat box. I'm going to first start with the pre-submitted questions, because these might be questions that you all already have. And we are at an hour now, so I am going to go for another 10, max about 15 minutes, because I want to be mindful of your time as well. If you can stay on the call for the question period, that's awesome. And if you don't, you can catch the rest on the replay. But first question, thank you, Kim. First question comes from Carrie, and she pre-submitted just asking about protein targets. Is 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight the right goal for your protein? Thanks for your question, Carrie. And yes, that is the right range. So without getting into too much detail, the current RDA, the current recommended daily allowances for protein are way low, right? They are not high enough to optimize health and longevity as we age. So the current research actually suggests a little bit higher, more like 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So really what that translates into is about, thank you all, thanks everybody. What that translates into is about 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So Carrie, you are on track there. So if you are, your ideal body weight is 140 pounds, you'd be looking at taking in about 98 to 140 grams daily of protein, ideally distributed over the course of the day and not just eating it straight in one sitting. So that hopefully answers your question, Carrie. I'm moving on to another one submitted by Carrie as well as Gina. You both were asking about muscle supporting supplements and which ones are actually worth it. Protein powder, creatine, collagen were some of the questions. So firstly, protein powder. Protein powder is definitely, I do recommend it, especially if it is really hard for you to meet your daily target with just your diet, just with your whole foods. And ideally that is, what we want to be striving for, but it can be very hard depending on what your protein target goal is. So I do recommend a good high quality protein powder for that purpose. Now, creatine. Creatine, I'm a big fan, and it's one of the most well-researched supplements that supports muscle health for women, especially over 40. It's a protein that's also an energy source. It's an energy producing substance. So it is really wonderful at helping to support our strength, our power, and actually even your cognitive function. So when brain levels of creatine drop in the body, we can start to feel that in our ability to think clearly and be a bit more sharp. So I do love the creatine for that reason. And for all of us postmenopausal women out there, when you combine creatine with resistance training, it helps postmenopausal women build muscle and improve bone strength, especially at the hip. So again, big fan here. Collagen, that was another protein that was that I was asked about. And I think of collagen as a protein booster. Collagen is not a complete protein. It lacks tryptophan, so it's not a complete protein, but it actually does still count, okay? It's great for your hair, skin, nails, your gut health as well, and your joints. So it's a great way to kind of just add to the protein of the day. I put a scoop in my tea every morning. That's a great 10 grams before I even, touched my smoothie. So I do love collagen for that. Gina, again, she asked, she's turning 60 soon, and she's asking what to test in blood. So Gina, if you're still on the call, I'm assuming that you are postmenopausal. So I do expect that your hormones are already at the lower end. So whether you test your sex hormones at this phase really depends on your goals. So if you're experiencing symptoms like, like low libido, vaginal dryness, mood issues, any of those things, and you're also considering HRT, like if you're still in that window of where it's beneficial, then absolutely testing sex hormones could work here. But if you're feeling pretty good, you're not interested, or you're well past the window of HRT where it's beneficial, then I would probably prioritize more metabolic health markers. So that would be more things like insulin, your fasting glucose, your HbA1c, so your hemoglobin A1c, that's your 3-month average of your blood sugar, a full thyroid panel, not just TSH, vitamin D, and inflammation markers like C-reactive protein. That would detect more systemic inflammation. And then finally, the last question I had that was pre-submitted was from Aoife. And Aoife, I love your question because I feel that almost every woman might resonate, might relate to this call. I certainly did when I read it. And it was how to reconcile blood work that says not perimenopause, but your symptoms say otherwise. So I love this question, and it's completely relatable. Remember, perimenopause, there's actually not like a test to diagnose menopause, or perimenopause rather. It's really just based on like a diagnosis based on your symptoms and your age more than anything, not a blood test. Remember that hormones fluctuate wildly during that perimenopause, right? Phase. So you could be testing, your estrogen on a Tuesday and it could be through the roof. You could test it again 2 days later on a Thursday and it's on the floor. So a lot of the time you might test your blood and you might feel a certain way, but the blood doesn't confirm that. And that is super frustrating for so many women. So what I would say, Aoife, is trust your body. Know that, your experience is a valid one. If you are in your late 30s, if you're in your 40s, if you're in your early 50s, and you're experiencing symptoms like irregular periods, you're feeling that sleep disruption, those mood changes, the brain fog, all of these things, this is perimenopause, regardless of what any lab says, okay? So your symptoms are valid and your experience is real. So I do want to make sure that I say that, and I say that to all of you women. those were the pre-submitted questions. So I'm just going to go back. I think I saw a couple of questions come in as I was going through some of these. Lots of thank yous. Thank you. Will this program be repeated every couple of months? I will put out the program again if you can't make this first round, absolutely. And so I will continue to keep in touch through email. I don't know when I will put out the next cohort to do this, but you will absolutely be notified, and we'll have an opportunity to if you can't make this next one. Thank you, Lavinia. What are my thoughts on DIM, berberine, flaxseed oil supplements? Allison. So, okay. Now, I don't know you personally, so I can't really say whether I would approve of one or not. But what I will say I'll start with DIM. DIM is beautiful when we are dealing with high estrogen and we're needing to help support healthier estrogen metabolism, where we're eliminating things a little bit more healthily through a more protective and a more stable pathway. So DIM can be beneficial, but DIM will lower your estrogen, and that is something that you need to be well aware of. And because perimenopause, we can be dealing with highs and lows, sometimes that's not always favorable when we are depleting the estrogen even more. So DIM will depend on where your estrogen is and what symptoms you're going through. So that would be more of, I think, of an individual type of question that would need to be addressed with your doctor, or working with somebody, like myself, where we could maybe look at hormones and see where they're at and how you're metabolizing and what needs support. Berberine can be great. It's great for managing insulin and helping the glucose response. Some people kind of point it as, it's not the same as a GLP-1 like Ozempic, but it kind of acts similarly in that it can help us become a bit more sensitive to our insulin. So I do like berberine for that reason. Flaxseed oil supplements, I've got nothing bad to say about flax oil supplements. You just want to make sure that you're storing them properly, because it is flax, so you want to keep it in a cool place, because these oils are volatile and they can go rancid. So I hope that helped, Allison. Do you have a recommendation for a vegan protein powder without monk fruit? There's a few out there. I mean, one off the top of my head is About Time. That is stevia sweetened. It doesn't have monk fruit in it. And if you're not big on any of the sweeteners, I would just go for an unflavored one, right? I hope that helps. Just says CB, so hope that helped, CB. Great presentation. Thank you, Kim. I'm postmenopausal. Okay, that's a direct message, so hang on. Okay, so D Nice, I would say that your best bet here, because you're asking me a specific question. Okay, been on twice a week for women. How and when? Okay, was meant for everyone. Okay. So this is a postmenopausal woman on a 37.5 estradiol patch twice a week for about 2 months. How and when do I feel like, yes, this is helping me a lot? Okay, so So because an estradiol patch, I mean, you're getting that estrogen systemically, like instantly, right? You're not going to feel that instant but I would expect that you should start to feel a lot better. I would say, giving yourself, 2 to 3 months to really feel like things are kind of leveled out. But an estradiol patch, if you're feeling like it's not really helping, then I would probably look at other hormones that might need to be supported as well. Like I was on an estradiol patch and progesterone for the longest time, and I was feeling good, but I didn't quite have the oomph that is more my nature, like my personality. And when we retested my blood work, because it's still important to test while you're on HRT, my testosterone was kind of really suboptimal. And I'm about 2 months now into just a little bit of compounded testosterone. And I have to say that I think that this was the missing piece for me. I feel like I have a bigger zest for life. It's not just about libido, it's about your drive, your energy. And for me, mood. I feel like this has lifted my mood even more than the estrogen patch was doing for me. So you might need to dig a bit more deeper. I would work with your doctor on that one. I hope that helped. Okay, so you're welcome. That's great, guys. Thank you so much. So we are, unless there are any other questions, I'm going to close the call. You're so welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I really am super grateful. Oh, is that you, Jen? Are you raising your hand? You can unmute yourself. Anyone? Yeah? No, that wasn't a question then. Okay. All righty. All right,
Oh,
everybody.
hi, Andrea.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get. I'm having some issues with my connection, unfortunately. I didn't catch what you said about what you added to the progesterone and estradiol patch.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So what I had said was testosterone was the missing piece for me. And testosterone, we actually have more testosterone than estrogen in our bodies. So it should be one of those hormones that we also consider when we're looking at the balance of our hormones. And testosterone as one of our male
Okay.
hormones, yeah, that's what I was referring to. So I find that really did help kind of seal the deal for me in terms of like my mood and my energy and my motivation. So I hope that helps.
Andrea, can you hear me? It's Lynn.
Yes. Hi, Lynn.
Just so everybody knows, I did a program with Andrea almost 3 years ago, and she changed my life. And I mean that. And it wasn't just all hormonal. It was managing weight and feeling good. I'll be 70 coming. And I actually experienced what it was like to follow and feel good by eating the right things. It's hard to explain, but when I was following her program, it was amazing. And then every once in a while, I'm human, I would go off, or I love to bake, and I would not feel good. Like it was really for real. And so now I've been almost 3 years, and I needed a reminder, and I just can't say enough about what Andrea gave to me with her program. And I do it on my own now. I needed her weekly schedules to keep me going and get me going. But thank you.
Oh, Lynn, thank you so much. That means the
I
world
know
to
you
me.
didn't expect that, but I just felt I had to say it because hormones, yes, play a part, but mine are way down there now. And when I was going through that, I thought I was going to go crazy. And I thought, oh, they tell you 10 years. I thought I can't do this for 10 years. But I had to, because I didn't find any help out there. But you helped me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for being here this evening. This is all being recorded, so you will get the replay. I welcome you to share it with anyone who you feel could benefit from hearing this tonight. Thanks again. Have an awesome night, and take care, everyone.